when I think iconic right away, I think it's in photographs. So that's generally where my mind goes. Like if I said to you, think of the iconic picture of Jim Morrison. Most everybody would think of the same one with him standing there with his arms out with a little bead necklace. But you can think of different people, and there's certain iconic photographs that represent that person. That's the way I would think of iconic.
My fondest memories of this park are being over in the woodsy, rocky area, and when we were younger, running around with little guns, doing our little sci-fi thing, and mimicking Star Wars and Aliens and Outland and any sci-fi movie that came out with my little geeky friends. It's like having your own little Hollywood, and it's all fenced in so no one comes in or bothers. So I have fond memories of being able to be inventive and come up with my own situations, and then eventually thinking, that could be a comic or that could be a film script. And so a lot of that came from being able to run around freely and be imaginative with my friends.
In those days, there was, just the basics. It was playing sports and hiking and, exploring the beautiful rivers we have around here. We spent a lot of time on the rivers, thinking we were Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, building forts and all that kind of stuff when you were a kid.
For the first time walking in here, back when it was the Cashin, it was, just all the bodies, and just you'd have like the steaming smell of old beer and cigarettes, just kind of coming on, with all the bodies together, just like really hot room, just kind of creating that humid atmosphere, that is what underage bars basically consist of, It's just dirty, fun place.
The body art show, I think particularly the first year we got press coverage in the local paper in the living section, the front page and everything. It's people who are men and women who are dressed very scantily or next to nothing and then have their body painted. So that's usually a pretty crazy scene. It's not something that typical people would see too much.
This train station here brings back a lot of memories, because when I first started working on the railroad was out of here. And I can remember going to Hoboken with my mother, sitting in one of the coaches, and my dad had to work. He was standing outside the coach and he was waving goodbye, and he wrote my name with a piece of chalk on one of the pillars. And for some reason I remember that, and I was only like 8 or 9 years old. But those pillars are gone, the tracks are gone. Well, where we're at now is the railroad station in Binghamton, New York. This is the city I was born in, and this is the first place I rode on a train.
Yeah, my name's Matt Ryan. I'm mayor of the city of Binghamton, 49th mayor of the city of Binghamton, New York.
So the space we're in is called Jungle Science Gallery and Art Laboratories, or laboratories, depending on how devious you want to make it sound. In the front here, we have a gallery where we have different shows every month, and then in the back are different artist space where different artists rent.
The space we're in right now, it was a bar in most of its existence. This bar had gone through at least 4 name changes that I remember from my days back here, my college days and after. And I went to it in all 4 of those incarnations.
All right, here we go. Right now we're at Sherry Lindsay Park, used to be called Stowe Park, back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, named after a girl who was abducted. It probably feels and looks a lot more modern now. Every time I see this slide, I'm like, you poor kids. We had such a big slide. And they got all sorts of safety stuff. I sound like somebody's grandfather now. They got all sorts of safety stuff below it in case you fall. We had dirt.
You know, it was always busy. You could come by here 2 or 3 in the morning. There was always something going on. The station was open 24 hours a day. You were hungry, wanted a cup of coffee, the restaurant was there 24 hours a day. I mean, where we're at now, this was the baggage room. Now it's, I don't know what it is now. It's empty. I don't know, it's just different. But I am too, I'm getting old, so.
So this building's really unusual. You probably wouldn't find another building downtown here that's this wide and open, because they went through and they put these steel beams and they took out all the walls. So when I came into this space, it was all just hugely open, which was cool because there aren't other places like that.
Doesn't look at all like it used to. The only things that look the same are the ceiling and the floor, basically. And apparently now is owned by the First Ward Action Council, trying to refurbish old historic buildings. It's a little disappointing, but you know, it's good to see that it's cleaned up. All in the name of progress, right?
Part of what they called urban renewal, which was turned out to be urban destruction. You know, I think a lot of people look back and say, boy, I wish we didn't tear down some of these buildings, because, you know, they weren't replaced with a lot of things.
Iconic. I don't know.
I would describe the word icon or iconic as something
So well known by either the whole populace or the populace of an area that they become household words.
as far as Binghamton is concerned, things that are iconic that are things for me that hold a lot of thoughts and memories and
Has a kind of embedded meaning or embedded associations, maybe.
I think to be iconic, they have to have some emotional impact on you. So like someplace you hung out as a kid, right, where emotional things happen to you. And so usually when I first think of iconic around Binghamton, you have to think of things that have been around for a while. The first thing I think of that for some reason popped in my head is just some of the diners that have been here for a long time. You have the Spot Diner, which has been there forever, and they still kind of look like they did, 30, 40 years ago. What else would be iconic?
Rec Park on the west side is a great park, and and it's just a lot of events, charity events, walks start there, and so it's a kind of a center piece for the city.
But as far as I'm concerned, just about any park in Binghamton is going to be iconic to each neighborhood because it's the park where you trust sending your kids. It's the park where your kids can hear you calling out the back door. It's the park that everyone sees on the highway here, at least for us. And
Rod Serling's Twilight Zone certainly set enough stories in Binghamton or in the Binghamton area to actually make Binghamton iconic.
He would definitely be the person who, if you're in the city government and you're promoting Binghamton, and who are you going to put on a picture on the side of the buses?
It would be Rod Serling would be an iconic figure, and he centered some of his shows around Rec Park and the carousels.
The carousels was something that came out of Fred Johnson, wanting to make sure that all the kids were able to ride carousels because he wasn't able to as a poor child. So we are known as the carousel capital or whatever. And
the whole downtown is somewhat iconic in a lot of people's minds. I mean, people remember I hear over and over again from people who, were of that age back then, how much they loved.
Downtown Binghamton used to be busy. I mean, all the stores, there was a lot of stores. Woolworths, we used to go in there, and it was a lunch counter. I could remember going in there and getting ice cream sodas. And the press building, which is still there, the largest building downtown. Well, when I was a kid, when it was the press building, they were printing newspapers, and you could stand on the sidewalk and look in these windows and watch the presses rolling, and you could feel the ground vibrate from the machines running. I'll never forget that. That'd be kind of iconic to Binghamton.
Yeah, probably our city hall and our downtown I would consider iconic just because everyone sees it at some point. Everyone knows where it is, and it does represent a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
This building right here, for our group of friends, it would be an icon. Maybe not for every person in town here, or even 90% of the people in town here, but you know, it certainly is. You know, it was an icon in our growth, our lives.
It's very iconic for me because I think of a lot of people, some people of which have passed away since. Some passed away young, some passed away as teens, high school. Almost all of us used to come here and play. Like one girl, Betsy, and she drowned in the river, and the mother's boyfriend drowned trying to save her. So I remember that's one of the tragedies that I think of when I come here, is that, as well as the main iconic name, like Sherry Lindsay, the girl who was abducted, and then the whole park's name was changed as a result. So every time you hear the name, you think about the situation.
Well, this station here is iconic to me because it's like a big part of my life. I grew up here. My first memories of the railroad were out of this station. It's just my home. I consider this more my home than any place I've lived.
If this park wasn't here, the community wouldn't have had some form of family gathering area. You know, usually there's church basements or, you know, a VFW or American Legion, but this is a place where people can just come as themselves with their family, choose to intermingle or enjoy an area of the park. And without this, there wouldn't be a way for people to do that and to gather and to be out in the community other than walking up a paved street, waving to a neighbor with a carriage or a grocery cart. I mean, where are you going to go? Gotta have parks.
Well, yeah, probably wouldn't have stayed here for the 15 years after my first 7-year attempt at college. I probably, because I mean, I came back and wound up moving in, you know, with the old friend from SUNY, and we knew all the bartenders, we knew all of the bouncers, we knew the owner of the bar. It really was just, you know, like our home. So without it, yeah, probably wouldn't have wound up staying here for 22 years, and probably wouldn't have wound up getting my degree. So yeah, you can chalk it all up to me finally finishing my degree, Grandma.
If I feel upset or sad, sometimes I like to just ride by here and just look at this place and remember how things used to be.